They say the 1001 nights have ended, that Scheherazada's voice has gone quiet, and no new tales remain to be told. But they are wrong, for some stories do not begin with once upon a time. They begin with a storm, or a silence, or a fire that speaks your name. In lands where time folds like cloth and names are power, there still walk those who carry ancient marks, forgotten debts, and keys to doors no man should open. These are not bedtime tales. They are warnings wrapped in wonder, echoes from a world that still breathes beneath the dust and the stars. So light a lantern, lock your windows, and hush your doubts. For tonight we tell the story the winds have kept hidden for centuries. A new night has begun, and the 1002nd tale waits for you. Beneath the pale silver light of the moon, the desert lay in a hush so deep it seemed to hold its breath. Sand stretched endlessly in all directions, whispering ancient secrets only the wind could understand. In this sea of golden shadow, a lone figure moved. Kamil, a merchant whose charm was matched only by his appetite for fortune. His latest obsession was a legend whispered in caravans and marketplaces. The jewel of the desert moon, a gem said to grant visions of one's true destiny, hidden deep within the shifting dunes. Most dismiss it as a mirage of the mind, but Kamil, ever the opportunist, had decided it was worth pursuing. In the bustling tavern of Al-Sur, Kamil overheard two cloaked strangers discussing a map that led to the jewel. Their voices were low, but greed sharpened his hearing. Slipping closer under the guise of ordering wine, he caught the words oasis, moonlight, and guardians. By the time they noticed his presence, the map was already tucked into his robe, and he was vanishing into the night. The desert was not kind to those who crossed it with unsteady purpose. The days burned, the nights bit with cold, and the horizon shifted like a living thing. On the third night, Kamil encountered a lone traveler, a woman wrapped in indigo veils, her eyes bright as midnight water. "I am Layla," she said simply. "And you?" "Kamil, merchant." "Merchant?" Her gaze lingered on the faint outline of the map under his robe. "The desert will lie to the thirsty. Are you sure of what you seek?" He smirked. "A mirage cannot fool a man who knows his own desire." She didn't argue. Instead, she joined his campfire that night, speaking little but walking beside him the next day. Her silence was not empty. It carried an unspoken question that weighed more than words. On the seventh night, the map led them to a canyon of black stone. Moonlight poured into it like water, revealing three tall figures cloaked in silver. Their faces were hidden, their presence as still as the stars. "You seek the jewel," one said, voice neither male nor female. "I do," Kamil replied, his tone confident but his pulse quickening. "There is a price," the second guardian intoned. "Not gold nor blood, but truth." Kamil hesitated. "Truth." The third guardian stepped forward. "The jewel shows not what you want, but what you are. Many are not ready to bear such a reflection." Layla's eyes met Kamil's, but she said nothing. He nodded, and the guardian stepped aside, allowing them to pass into the canyon's heart. Inside, the air was unnaturally still. The path wound between jagged rocks until it opened into a vast hollow filled with glowing sand. At its center stood the jewel, radiant, shifting colors like trapped moonlight. Kamil approached, each step heavy. As he reached for it, the sand around him began to move. No, to rise. A storm erupted from nowhere, pulling him into a whirl of light and dust. The world vanished. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer in the canyon. He stood in the marketplace of his youth, but it was empty. Voices echoed, familiar, accusing, loving, pleading, all from his past. Faces appeared in the shadows. A beggar he once ignored, a friend he betrayed in trade, a woman he left without farewell. One by one, they turned their backs and dissolved into dust. Then he saw himself, older, richer, alone. In his reflection's eyes burned the same hunger that had led him here. It was then he understood. The jewel's power was not to grant destiny, but to reveal the cost of chasing it without heart. When the storm cleared, Kamal found himself kneeling before the jewel. Layla was there, her hand on his shoulder. "You saw," she said softly. He nodded, voice rough. "It showed me everything I have taken, everything I will lose." "The desert tells no lies," she murmured, "but it only speaks to those willing to listen." Camille stood looking at the jewel one last time. He could take it, perhaps even sell it for a king's ransom, but the weight in his chest told him that the real treasure was the truth he now carried. Without another word, he turned and walked away. Layla followed, but at the canyon's mouth she stopped. "This is where I leave you." He looked back, suddenly aware that he knew nothing about her, not her true purpose, nor the question in her eyes. "Will I see you again?" Her veil shifted in the wind, revealing the faintest smile. "Perhaps, if the moon wills it." And then she was gone. Camille returned to Al-Sur not as the man who had left it. He sold his goods, not for profit, but to pay old debts. He gave water to the beggar at the city gates. And though he still traded in the markets, he no longer chased shadows across the dunes. At night, when the moon was high and silver, he would sometimes hear the wind whisper, soft and familiar, and he would wonder if somewhere out in the shifting sands, Layla still walked, chasing a truth of her own. And so, under stars older than memory, the tale finds its final breath. The winds of the desert carry whispers of what was, a spark, a step, a soul changed. For in the East, where myths are carved not in stone, but in stardust and smoke, endings are but doors to dreams yet to be dreamt. The name of the hero fades into silence, but their journey lives on in firelit tents, in the rhythm of old drums, in the wide eyes of those who still believe. Was it all real, or merely the trick of a tale too bold to be bound by truth? That, dear listener, is not for us to say. Tonight the flames flicker lower, the scroll rolls shut, but the scent of saffron and secrets still clings to the air, and somewhere a child dares to ask, "And then what happened?" And so the story sleeps, not ended, but waiting, for those who still listen, for those who still remember.